like someone was watching you. A shadow just beyond your sight. A presence you can't explain. Emily Carlson felt it every day. A creeping paranoia, a whisper in the dark. But paranoia is just fear without proof. Right. Until the murders began. Bodies mutilated, no fingerprints, no witnesses, and the only connection. This is Emily. She swears she didn't do it. She has no memory of the crimes. But when the truth finally comes to light, even she won't believe it. Because Emily is not alone. There's Lauren, bold, reckless, unpredictable. A woman who thrives on danger and has nothing to lose. And Kaylee, quiet, artistic, withdrawn. A dreamer lost in her own world. 3 women, 1 mystery, and a secret so terrifying it will change everything they know about themselves. Because sometimes, the most dangerous person in your life is the one staring back at you in the mirror.
In a high-tech office of Digital Rex Corporation in Cupertino, California, 3 women sat side by side, colleagues, friends, each leading their own life, or so it seemed. Their jobs revolved around computers. There was Emily Carlson, the quiet and anxious one, Lauren Reynolds, bold and brash, and Kaylee Foster, delicate, almost shy. Together they worked the same job, shared the same space, and thought they knew each other well. But the secrets they kept were darker than anyone could imagine. Emily Carlson was the reliable one, the girl who never drew attention to herself. In the company, she was known for her work ethic, not her social life. Her friends, Lauren and Kaylee, saw her as dependable but distant. But Emily's inner world was a storm of fear and paranoia. She felt watched, hunted, as if eyes followed her everywhere she went. She couldn't explain it, not to her colleagues, not even to herself. Lauren Reynolds was the opposite of Emily. Outgoing, fearless, she lived for fun. In the office, she did what was necessary, but her heart wasn't in the work. She had better places to be. Nightclubs, bars, anywhere that promised excitement. To her colleagues, she was a free spirit, sometimes frustratingly bold, but always the life of the party. What they didn't see was Lauren's darker side, the one that craved danger. Kaylee Foster, the third of the trio, was a dreamer. She was quiet, artistic, often lost in thought. In the office, her work was good enough, but her real passion was painting. She would sketch in the margins of her notes, imagining a world far away from the corporate grind. Her friends knew she was sensitive, gentle, a little mysterious, but they didn't know the depth of her secrets. Kaylee hid her darkness behind her art, never letting anyone see the shadows that haunted her. Despite their differences, the 3 women were close. They shared lunch breaks, after-work drinks, and occasional girls' nights out. To the outside world, they were friends, confidants, each supporting the other in her own way. But beneath the surface, something darker was brewing, something none of them could predict. The cracks in their friendship were invisible, but soon, those cracks would shatter their world entirely. Emily Carlson worked late at Digital Rex Corporation. Each night, she felt like someone was watching her. The feeling had become inescapable, like eyes peering from the shadows. Emily locked up her office and walked to the parking lot. Every footstep echoed behind her. She spun around. No one was there, yet the chill of fear crawled up her spine. When Emily arrived home, her hands trembled as she locked the door behind her. The house felt too quiet, too empty. She turned on every light in her apartment, checking the windows and doors. Who was watching her? Why did she feel like she was never alone? In the darkness, she heard whispers, her imagination running wild, or something more sinister lurking in the shadows. She tried to convince herself that she was safe, but the fear remained. Someone was there. And then there was Lauren Reynolds, a complete contrast to Emily. Lauren thrived on rebellion. She was daring and playful, hiding behind a tough exterior. With her vibrant red hair and wild energy, she sang at nightclubs, laughing at the men who fell under her spell. Lauren had a darkness inside her, one that craved excitement, risk, and danger. Then there was Kaylee Foster, quiet, gentle, artistic. Kaylee was shy, almost invisible compared to others, finding comfort in her paintings. Her world was one of peace and creativity, far removed from the chaos. She painted in soft strokes, creating beauty from within her imagination. Yet, beneath that calm exterior, Kaylee hid a secret, one she didn't even know existed. Night after night, Emily couldn't shake the feeling of being followed. Her stalker was invisible, silent, but present. She heard footsteps behind her but saw no one. Shadows moved just out of her sight. Her heart pounded every time she left the office, eyes darting into the darkness. One evening she found a note pinned to her windshield. "You will never escape me." Her breath caught in her throat. This wasn't paranoia anymore. It was real. Emily's fear grew with every passing day. She couldn't trust her own senses anymore. Were the footsteps real? Were the whispers in her mind? The walls seemed to close in on her, and the weight of dread was crushing. She confided in no one, afraid that no one would believe her. In the quiet of her room, the silence was deafening. She was sure of one thing. Someone wanted her dead, but who and why? One evening, as she lay in bed, Emily heard it. The faintest creak of a floorboard. She froze. Was it her imagination again, or had someone finally found her? The door to her bedroom was closed, but she heard a soft sound. Something, or someone, was there, just beyond the door. Her heart raced, her breath shallow, as the doorknob slowly turned. And then, the lights went out. Emily Carlson couldn't live like this any longer. Her paranoia was consuming her, and she felt like she was losing her mind. There was only one person she could turn to. Her father, Dr. Austin Carlson. He was a successful heart surgeon, and though they weren't close, she needed his help. She called him, her voice trembling with fear. But his response was distant, cold. He told her to see a psychiatrist, brushing off her fears. The conversation left her feeling more isolated than ever. Her father's words echoed in her mind as the darkness around her deepened. Meanwhile, Lauren Reynolds was living a different life. That night, she hit the nightclub, ready for fun. She was dressed to kill, with her fiery red hair flowing wildly. The music thumped, and the crowd was lost in the pulse of the night. Lauren didn't care about rules or limits. She was in control, and the world around her bent to her will. Men couldn't resist her, and she reveled in the power. But behind those playful eyes, there was something darker lurking, a force that thrived on chaos. In the quiet of the night, a horrifying discovery was made. Seth Anderson, a man Emily had once known, was found dead, brutally murdered, his body mutilated in a savage attack. The violence was shocking, unlike anything the police had ever seen. His bloodied body told a story of rage and cold, calculated murder. The police were baffled. Who could have committed such a brutal crime, and why? A strange sense of foreboding filled the air. The killer had left no clues, no fingerprints, just a trail of terror in their wake. Detective Robert Quinlan was assigned to the case. He had seen countless murders before, but this one, it felt different. It wasn't just the brutality, it was the lack of evidence, the clean execution of the crime. It was as though the killer knew exactly how to cover their tracks. Quinlan began digging into Seth's past, looking for any connections that could lead him to the murderer. He found something strange. Seth had known Emily Carlson. The pieces were beginning to fall into place, but the puzzle was far from complete. The police brought Emily in for questioning. She sat across from the detectives, her heart racing. They showed her pictures of the crime scene, Seth Anderson's mutilated body. Emily's face went pale. She swore she had nothing to do with it, but the evidence seemed to tell a different story. She couldn't explain why her fingerprints were found near the scene. The detectives pressed her for answers, but Emily was confused, terrified. The truth was slipping away from her grasp, and for a moment, she began to doubt her own mind. Could she have done this and not remember? While Emily was caught in a whirlwind of fear, Kaylee continued her quiet life, unaware of the storm brewing around her. She spent her days painting, finding solace in her art. For Kaylee, the world was still, peaceful, but behind her soft brushstrokes, a part of her knew that something was very, very wrong. She didn't question the strange blackouts, the lost time. Kaylee preferred to live in her own world, away from the chaos. But soon, that world would collide with a terrifying reality she couldn't ignore. The nightmare continued. Another man, connected to Emily, was found murdered. The crime was almost identical to the first. Mutilation, no fingerprints, no clues. The fear inside Emily grew. She couldn't understand what was happening, but the police were now watching her closely. She had been at the scene of both murders, and the evidence was stacking against her. But how could she be responsible? She had no memory of these crimes, no recollection of violence. But could she trust her own mind? Emily's world was spiraling out of control. Every shadow seemed alive with secrets, every whisper a reminder that something was wrong. The murders were too close, too personal, and she couldn't remember. She bolted herself inside her apartment, but safety was an illusion. No lock could keep the darkness out. Paranoia clung to her, invading her thoughts, her dreams. Was she the prey or the predator? The answer was out there, lurking just beyond the light. But once it was revealed, nothing would ever be the same. Emily couldn't sleep. She lay in her bed, staring at the ceiling, her heart racing. The silence of her apartment was overwhelming, and every small noise made her jump. The murders kept replaying in her mind. She knew the victims, but how? Why? The fear of what she might have done was driving her mad. Could she be responsible for these terrible crimes? Detective Robert Quinlan couldn't shake the feeling that Emily was hiding something. The murders were too perfectly carried out. No evidence, no mistakes. It didn't make sense. He went through all the details of the case, over and over, searching for something he might have missed. He kept thinking about Emily. She seemed scared, but she was also confused. She couldn't be lying, but something was wrong. The more he looked into her life, the more questions he had. Was Emily involved in the murders? Or was there something much deeper going on? One moment, Emily was at her computer, typing an email. The next, she found herself standing in the middle of her living room, her hands shaking. Hours had passed, but she didn't remember any of it. It was like that she had disappeared from her own life. Emily looked at her phone. 2 missed calls. Her mind raced. What had she done during those lost hours? Where had she been? Fear gripped her as the blackout stretched on, swallowing her sense of reality. Then the unthinkable happened. The police came to Emily's apartment with a warrant for her arrest. She was shocked, unable to believe what was happening. The detectives told her she was being charged with murder, the brutal killings of the men she once knew. Emily protested. "I didn't do it. I don't remember any of this." But it didn't matter. The evidence was piling up against her. Her fingerprints, her connections to the victims. It was all there. As the police led her away in handcuffs, Emily's mind screamed for answers. Could she really be the killer? As Emily sat in the interrogation room, her mind was a blur. She didn't remember committing any crimes, but the evidence said otherwise. Then something strange happened. She felt different. Suddenly, her voice changed. It wasn't Emily speaking anymore. It was someone else. Lauren Reynolds, bold and confident, took over, laughing at the detectives. Moments later, another voice emerged. Kaylee Foster, soft and gentle, speaking in a whisper. Emily wasn't alone in her mind. She had two other personalities, Lauren and Kaylee. And one of them was the killer. The truth finally came out. Emily wasn't the murderer. At least, not the Emily everyone knew. She had dissociative identity disorder, DID. Her mind had created two other personalities to deal with the trauma of her past. Lauren was wild and dangerous, living for the thrill of excitement and control. Kaylee was shy and artistic, keeping to herself, but filled with quiet pain. Together they had done things that Emily had no memory of. She wasn't evil, but her mind had split to protect her. Now the police had to decide. Was Emily guilty, or was she just another victim of her own broken mind? The courtroom was silent as Emily Carlson sat at the defense table. The world now knew the truth. Emily wasn't one person, but three. She had dissociative identity disorder, DID. The judge and jury stared at her, uncertain whether she was a cold-blooded killer or just another victim. The prosecution argued that the murders were premeditated, pointing to the brutal way the crimes were committed. They wanted Emily punished, but her defense lawyer had a different story. Emily didn't know what her other personalities had done. How could she be guilty if she wasn't in control? As the trial progressed, something terrifying happened. Lauren, the wild, dangerous side of Emily, emerged in court. Lauren mocked the prosecution, laughing at their accusations. She didn't care about the consequences. She was bold, fearless, and ruthless. The courtroom watched in shock as Emily's body seemed to change right in front of them. It wasn't the quiet, scared Emily they were used to. It was someone else, entirely. Lauren wasn't afraid of prison or death. She wanted control, and she was willing to do anything to get it. But then, Kaylee, the quiet and gentle side of Emily, appeared. She was different, timid, scared, and full of sorrow. In a soft voice, Kaylee begged the court for mercy. She didn't want any harm, only peace. She revealed the pain she had been carrying, the deep scars from Emily's troubled past. Kaylee's voice trembled as she explained how she had hidden away, trying to protect Emily from the horrors of her life. But it wasn't enough. The courtroom was silent, filled with a strange sympathy for the woman standing before them. As the trial continued, Emily's past was finally revealed. Her father, a respected man in the community, had secretly abused and had been violent to her all her childhood, while her mother had already passed away when she was just 4 years old. It was this trauma that caused her mind to fracture, splitting into different personalities to protect her from the pain. Lauren was the bold, fearless side, created to fight back and survive. Kaylee was the quiet, artistic side, who tried to heal. And Emily, the real Emily, was the one left in the dark, not knowing what her other selves were doing. The courtroom was stunned by this revelation as the pieces of the puzzle finally began to fall into place. The jury returned with their verdict. The courtroom held its breath as the judge read it aloud. Emily Carlson was found not guilty by reason of insanity. The court had accepted that Emily's other personalities had committed the crimes, and she wasn't aware of them. But this didn't mean freedom. Emily would be sent to a psychiatric hospital, where she would have to face the broken pieces of her mind. The weight of the decision settled over the room as Emily sat quietly, not sure if she was relieved or afraid. Her nightmare wasn't over. It was just beginning. Emily was sent to a psychiatric hospital where doctors would try to understand her fractured mind. The sterile, white walls of the hospital felt like a prison. Every day, she was questioned, observed, and tested. But it wasn't Emily they were interested in. It was the others. Lauren and Kaylee remained silent, hidden in the corners of her mind. But Emily could feel them there, waiting. The doctors said they wanted to help, but Emily didn't know if she could ever truly be free. Could she ever be just one person again? Dr. Stephen Stewart, a leading psychiatrist, began working with Emily, trying to reach Lauren and Kaylee through hypnosis. He believed that if he could communicate with them, he might understand why they had emerged and possibly help them disappear. Under hypnosis, Emily's voice changed again. Lauren came forward, her voice sharp and mocking. She taunted Dr. Stewart, refusing to let go of her power. But when Kaylee appeared, she was different, soft-spoken and scared. Kaylee wanted to help, but even she didn't know how to make Lauren go away. Dr. Stewart was getting closer to the truth, but the danger was growing. During one of the hypnosis sessions, Lauren grew furious. She refused to be controlled, refusing to disappear. Suddenly, she lashed out. With no warning, Emily's body reacted violently, attacking Dr. Stewart. The staff rushed in, pulling Emily away before she could do any real harm. But the message was clear. Lauren wasn't going anywhere. She was in control, and she wasn't about to let anyone take that power from her. Emily was terrified. She had no memory of what had happened, but the fear in Dr. Stewart's eyes told her everything. He believed that if he could help Emily confront her past and understand why Lauren and Kaylee existed, she might be able to heal. But it wouldn't be easy. Lauren was strong and dangerous, while Kaylee was fragile and scared. Emily would have to face the darkest parts of her life, and only then could she hope to become whole again. The question was, could Emily survive the journey into her own mind? Or would Lauren's power be too strong to overcome? Emily began her therapy sessions with renewed determination. Dr. Stewart guided her through her memories, encouraging her to confront the painful experiences that had caused her mind to split. As Emily recalled her childhood, she saw flashes of dark moments with her father. The pain was overwhelming, but with each memory, she felt the grip of Lauren and Kaylee loosening. Dr. Stewart reminded her that facing the truth was the first step to healing. But each session came with its own risks. What if Lauren fought back? What if Emily lost control again? As the sessions progressed, Lauren became furious. She didn't want Emily to dig into the past. One day, during a particularly intense session, Lauren screamed out, taking control once more. "You think you can just forget? You think you can just bury me?" Dr. Stewart stood firm, challenging Lauren. "You can't hide from the truth forever. Emily needs to understand, to heal." But Lauren laughed menacingly, declaring, "I'm the only one who keeps her safe." The tension in the room escalated, and Emily felt like she was losing the battle. In the following session, Kaylee emerged, trembling and scared. She whispered, "Please, you have to listen to me. Lauren is lying. She's not protecting us. She's hurting us." Kaylee revealed how she had always wanted to help Emily, to heal the wounds of their shared past. "We can't let Lauren take over. We need to fight back together." Her plea struck a chord within Emily. The realization that she wasn't alone gave her hope. But could they work together to confront Lauren? Or would she be too strong? In the next session, the confrontation came to a head. Emily sat in the middle, struggling with her identities. Dr. Stewart encouraged Emily to invite Lauren to join them, to face her fears. Lauren appeared, fierce and ready to fight. "You think you can control me? I am Emily," she screamed. But Dr. Stewart intervened. "No, Lauren. You're a part of her, but you don't control her. You need to let Emily speak." Emily, trembling, found her voice. "Lauren, I'm scared, but I need you to listen. I can't hide anymore. You're hurting us. Please, let's find a way to work together." The room felt electric as the three of them faced off, the air thick with tension. After a long and intense battle, something shifted. Slowly, Lauren began to soften. Maybe I've been too hard on you," she admitted, her voice quieter now. Kaylee stepped forward, hopeful. "Together, we can be strong. We don't have to fight each other." Emily felt the walls around her heart beginning to break down. "I don't want to be scared anymore," she said softly. "I want us to work together." For the first time, there was a glimmer of understanding among the three. It wasn't a complete victory, but it was a step toward healing. They all knew the journey was far from over, but perhaps, just perhaps, they could find a way to coexist. Emily entered what would be her final therapy session with Dr. Stewart. She felt a sense of nervousness, but also a strange calm. After everything she had faced, the pieces were finally coming together. Lauren and Kaylee were quieter now, more cooperative, and Emily could feel herself gaining more control. Dr. Stewart greeted her warmly. "You've come a long way, Emily. Today we're going to face the final truth." Emily nodded, knowing this would be the hardest session yet. Deep inside, she knew the last piece of the puzzle lay with her father. His shadow still loomed over her, and she needed to confront what he had done. Under Dr. Stewart's guidance, Emily went deeper into her mind than ever before. Slowly, painful memories of her father surfaced. His strictness, his control, and the emotional abuse that had haunted her childhood. The memories were suffocating, but Emily forced herself to stay in control. Lauren stirred within her, but this time, instead of fighting, she was silent. Kaylee was there too, watching, as if waiting to see if Emily could handle the truth alone. For the first time, they trusted Emily to lead. As the memories flooded back, Emily finally remembered what she had tried so hard to forget. Her father, a respected man on the outside, had been emotionally abusive and had been sexually molesting her every day when she was a kid, controlling every aspect of her life, making her feel worthless. He had shattered her self-esteem and planted the seeds of her dissociative disorder. She couldn't cope up with that anymore. In that moment of clarity, Emily understood why Lauren had existed. Lauren had been the one to protect her from the unbearable truth. But now, Emily was strong enough to face it. She didn't need Lauren to shield her anymore. It was time to let go of the past. Emily looked inward and spoke to Lauren directly. "You were there when I needed you. You protected me when I couldn't protect myself. But I'm ready to face the world now. I don't need you to fight for me anymore." For the first time, Lauren didn't argue. She was silent, understanding that her purpose was fulfilled. Slowly, Emily felt Lauren fade away, her presence becoming softer and softer until she was gone. It was a bittersweet moment, but it was time for Emily to reclaim her life. Next, it was Kaylee's turn. Unlike Lauren, Kaylee had always been gentle, trying to protect Emily's softer side. Emily smiled at her other self. "You've always been kind to me. You helped me remember the good things. But now, I have to stand on my own. I'll always carry you with me, but I need to live as just one person." Kaylee's eyes filled with tears. "I'll miss you," she whispered. Then, just like Lauren, Kaylee began to fade, leaving Emily alone. But not lonely. For the first time in her life, Emily felt whole. With Lauren and Kaylee gone, Emily stood alone. But she was stronger than ever. She had faced the darkness of her past, confronted her inner demons, and emerged victorious. Dr. Stewart smiled at her. "You did it, Emily. You're free." Emily smiled back, feeling lighter than she ever had. The road ahead would not be easy, but now she had the strength to face it. She was ready to live her life, not as fragments of different people, but as one whole, powerful person. She walked out of the hospital with hope in her heart, finally ready to embrace her future. Emily Carlson's journey was one of pain, fear, and self-discovery. She had lived in the shadow of her past for so long, but now she had broken free. No longer bound by her alter egos, she stood as a strong, independent woman, ready to face whatever life had in store. Her story reminds us all that no matter how dark the road, there is always a way to heal, to grow, and to become whole.